Most people know the story of the Tower of Babel, and almost everyone knows the story of the Exodus. But what if they're not just two separate stories? What if they're a part of the same divine response? At Babel, humanity tried to make a name for themselves. In Egypt, God made his name known to the nations. Babel scattered the nations, while the Exodus birthed a nation. Once you see these 30 parallels between these two stories, you'll realize that the Exodus story was not just a rescue, it was actually a reversal. Let me show you what I mean. Did you know there are 30 connections or biblical parallels between Exodus, the story of the Exodus, and the story of the Tower of Babel? On the left-hand side, you're going to see the themes or the specific connection between Genesis 11 and Exodus. Right here, this is Tower of Babel. Right here in this brownish orange, it's Exodus, chapters 1 through 15. So, the first thing to note is that both stories have or involve an oppressive empire. You know, the city of Babel represents oppression and that oppressive human system, whereas with Israel in Exodus, Pharaoh and Egypt play that oppressive empire role. There's a multiplication of people. So in Genesis 11, it opens with people multiplied and increased. You know, from Noah, they've united in one location. They use their numbers to their advantage. And in Exodus, we have Pharaoh seeing Israel has been fruitful and multiplied. They're numerous, and he views their numbers as a potential threat. In the third connection, I'm not going to keep track of numbers here. There's the labor for man's ambition. So in Genesis 11, people are working together in unity to advance themselves, their name, their reputation, ascend to heaven. In Exodus, Israel is enslaved to build cities for Pharaoh and that empire of Egypt. There's the come let us phrase in both stories. So in Genesis 11, the people say, come let us make bricks. And then they attempt to lift themselves up. I don't know what happened here. I'm going to put in an attempt to lift up themselves in advance, self-preservation, self-exaltation. And in Exodus, then they say, come, let us use these bricks to make a city and a tower to heaven. In Exodus, Pharaoh says, hey, Israel's going to be a threat to us if we don't deal with this. Let's deal shrewdly with them. Come. And there's an attempt to exalt self and oppress Israel, preserving themselves. There's the emphasis on the language and the words. So in Genesis 11, they say to one another in agreement. They're not just united in purpose, but in speech and words and language. So they deal with cunning and shrewdness. And in Exodus, Pharaoh uses his cunning, and he says to his counselors, and they agree, let's, abuse Israel pretty much. And they deal shrewdly with Israel. Both stories involve that shrewd, cunning serpent. There's brick making, right? Genesis 11, they build the tower, the city out of the bricks. In Exodus, they're making the storehouses and building with bricks. There's the tower versus the kind of store cities. One in Genesis 11, the tower construction is a monument of power. They use bricks to make structures, to make their name great. Same thing in Exodus with Pharaoh and Pithom and Ramses. He uses bricks to make his name great. In Genesis 11, God intervenes. He comes down and he messes with things. Same with Exodus. God comes down, hears the cry of his people, and has come down to call Moses and appoint him to lead Israel out. There's human pride. So Genesis 11, let us make a name for ourselves. And with Pharaoh, he's exalting himself above God. Who is the God of the Hebrews? I don't know him. So there's scattering versus liberation. So in Genesis 11, God scatters them across the earth as a consequence for their rebellion. In Exodus, Israel is freed, and they're scattered from Egypt as salvation and deliverance. It's a blessing. There's the confusion of language, or the involvement of language. In Genesis 11, God confuses the language. In Exodus, God uses Moses as his mouthpiece to speak his word to Pharaoh and begin throwing Egypt into confusion with the signs and wonders that come at Moses' words. And then at the Red Sea, what we have is God throwing the chariots into confusion as well. And then the Egyptian armies are drowned. There's the calling of a deliverer, right? So right after the Tower of Babel story, God calls and appoints Abram. He's going to play a delivering kind of role throughout his story. He's not necessarily appointed as a deliverer, but he himself is rescued out of Babylon to begin something new. God is starting something new with him. Same with Moses. He's appointed by God to initiate something new as God's deliverer and chosen one. Again, both stories God comes down, but in Genesis 11, God comes down to see the tower. In Exodus, God comes down because he's heard the cries of his people and he's seen their oppression. And he descends in fire at the bush to Moses. He appears to him. There's human disobedience, right? So in Genesis 11, the tower, the city, is an act of defiance against God. They're disobeying God's command to fill the earth and expand. And instead, they're coming to one place and making themselves great. In Exodus, Pharaoh does the same. He defies God's commands over and over. There's divine name and glory. So the Genesis 11 story, it's let us make a name. And that's working against God's name being made great. They use their name to fight against God's name rather than to carry and image his name. In Exodus, Moses speaks for God, or rather God's name is revealed to Moses. In Exodus 3 at the bush, the flaming bush, and Pharaoh is fighting against God and his name. Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Jason, and you can find everything about this ministry on AboveReproachMinistry.com. All of our Bible resources, our online church, ways to support this ministry, and so much more. And if you live anywhere near Spartanburg, South Carolina, come check out our church on Sundays at 10 a.m. Also, I have 2 brief updates for those of you that are part of this community. Number 1, the revision of my book Fruitful is coming out soon, hopefully in the next few weeks. So be sure to grab a copy of that when it does release. And number 2, we now have options on our website for monthly support. And when you become part of our monthly support team, you get access to all of our exclusive teachings and videos that get released every week. This is just my way of saying thank you. All right, that's all I got for you. Let's get back to the video. There's the speech and communication, right? Genesis 11, one language used for rebellion. God confuses that. In Exodus, God uses Moses, again, as that mouthpiece to bring obedience and to speak judgment against those who rebel. God's judgment is involved. In Genesis 11, God scatters the people. In Exodus, God scatters Egypt, really, and brings plagues upon them as judgment. That's a kind of scattering. There's human unity in rebellion. So in Genesis 11, they're unified in defiance. In Exodus, Egypt is unified under Pharaoh in defiance. There's geographic displacement. So in Genesis 11, people are dispersed across the earth. And at the Exodus, Israel is led to a new land dispersed out of Egypt. They're coming out of Egypt the way Abraham is coming out of Babylon. The migration motif is present too, human desire to settle versus God's call to go, be fruitful, expand, multiply, fill the earth. And then Israel migrates to Canaan to fill the land. There's that prideful power. God acts against self-exaltation in Genesis 11, and Pharaoh's judged for pride in Exodus 14. The divine signs are present in both. God descends in Genesis 11 and does something that is a divine sign against the people. In Exodus, we know of the signs and the plagues against Egypt and the Red Sea crossing as his final sign. There's the worldview clash in Genesis chapter 11. God has his plan and ambition versus human ambition. And then it's the same thing in Exodus, except it's kind of escalated beyond just the people. It's now Yahweh versus the Egyptian gods and those who have sided with these Egyptian gods, a clash of worldviews. Language is a barrier, right? So in Genesis 11, language causes separation. In Exodus chapter 5, there's the language of command and resistance. So it's causing separation between those who are of God versus those who are not. It's the words of Yahweh that bring that separation. Like Jesus says, I've come to bring a sword to divide household. There's one man rising to power in both narratives. In Genesis, I mixed these up. This is supposed to say Nimrod, and this one is supposed to be Pharaoh. So you have 2 world powers and 2 heads, chiefs of those world powers. In Genesis 11, it's Nimrod. He rises to power and makes his kingdom the dominant world power, including Babel. With Egypt, it's Pharaoh. He's the dominant world power. There's the scattering versus gathering again. People gather on their own in Genesis 11, and then God scatters them. But in Exodus, God is gathering his people, Israel, to himself after scattering Egypt. And then there's God's presence. God reveals his plan after Babel to use Abram and to make his name great and to bless the nations. God is intervening and redeeming and starting something fresh and new. And then with Exodus, God reveals himself at Sinai to Israel, and he commissions Israel to be his name carriers to the nations, the same way that Abraham was supposed to be the blessing to the nations. Israel is now the fulfillment and of what God promised. There's the humbling. God humbles the city builders in their pride, and God humbles Pharaoh in Exodus. Climbing to the top, they're building their tower to heaven to ascend to the gods. Exodus 1, they're building cities for Pharaoh. Pharaoh has, in his mind, ascended to the rank of the gods. He is really the visual human representation of the gods on the earth, a son of a god. And then there's the great reversal, right? God shuts down the tower at Babel and then chooses one man, one old man, to come out of Babel, come out of the old thing and to start something new with him. So God chooses the lowly from out of that nation. And it's the same with Exodus. God shuts down that dominant world power of Egypt and Pharaoh and chooses Israel to come out of the old thing to begin a new thing. And he chooses the oppressed individuals to come out of that dominant world power and that nation. So these are 30 connections between Babel and Exodus. Maybe you've never considered them. If you'd like this PDF, this downloadable spreadsheet, all you have to do is be a monthly supporter to have access to all of our different worksheets and such. So if you'd like access, be a monthly supporter today. And if you already are a monthly supporter, thank you for making this ministry possible and for helping us do what we do. It really makes a difference. And you can find this downloadable worksheet, or spreadsheet rather, on our website in the section where we have those. So thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Hey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more biblical content just like this. We have hundreds of videos, but you might be most interested in these ones right here. Also, visit our website for all of our free resources and classes. And thank you so much for partnering with us financially to make this ministry even possible. Keep moving towards Jesus, and I'll see you in the next video.